Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I'm talking some Palworld because I wanted to get things going before we did some co-op chaos with it. So, a few things that we took care of here is we did some boss battles, and these were a lot of fun to do. A lot of good ways to get some resources and some experience if you want to train new pals, which I end up switching up the party a bit. So, it was fun and a smooth way to get that going because at the end of the day, you're not going to stick with your initial party. You could, I guess. It's not like Pokemon, but you could stick with your initial party if you're that happy with it. For the most part, I did. Like Dire Howl, I feel will always be a part of my party. But I swapped out Chillet for this Azarobe that I'm fighting now. I end up catching it. Fun fact. And so I do put that into my party and let the Chillet hang out at the crib, just building stuff and that. And then my next goal was opening up some of the map. So at first I wanted to just go to the map edge and then just travel along, but I kind of gave up on that. And so while exploring part of the map, I noticed that there was this little island off to the side here. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I've been there before. So I head up that way, and it turns out that I haven't. And I'm like, this is a nice open spot. And so with the nice open spot, I end up building this house. And at the time, no, I did set up the base by then, because all the pals are out. So yeah, I set up a base here to kind of make it like just a little guarded spot that could be another source of resources, because that's the whole idea. Before I even delved into co-op chaos, I wanted to get things going to where we wouldn't have to rely so much on building. I could just go and do some boss battles or that thereof. So then we find some traveling merchants, and I buy some stuff, some pals, the top secret ones, and then go back on my adventure of opening up the map. And that's when I met with something curious. As I'm writing about, I noticed this line. And it's not like a line that's way out of the way or anything. It's just a weird line. It's almost like two textures are just meshed together, and it's just causing a straight line all throughout. I don't know. It was weird. But then, in my infinite wisdom, I decided to swim because I noticed this tower in the distance. And I'm like, oh, that's not a tower. That's like an oil rig. So I go to this oil rig and I'm hoping for some friendlies, and then that's when I met with some adversity and I die. So after that I decided to play it safe, and that's when I mainly start writing the map edge, and then I come inward because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's going to take way too long to sit here and do this. I'll just let things flow naturally. So you see I have this messed up line of where I actually flew through and opened up the map. And right there I was just showing some of the spots that I had opened up by running through and just swimming and taking the chance. And I'm going to go ahead and say it now. If you don't have one and you're playing Palworld, get a flyer. Flyers are essential because you could just hover over the water. You don't have to worry about stamina. The only time you do is if you're sprinting. And to find Fisherman's Point, which there wasn't anything special there, so I kind of just like let it go. And then I caught a shiny Melpaca. Yeah, I was pretty hyped about that. Pretty hyped. So then I put that at the farm, and then bam, we're good. So then a comet dropped. I know, it's like going all over the place. A comet dropped, and I'm like, well, we gotta get that. We gotta see what's there. And it turns out to be this wild treasure chest. So then while that pal is attacking, I'm like, cool, distract them. And then my pal takes out that pal, and I'm like, okay, axe. Because the musket took way too long, and at this point I had the handgun, so I was pretty hyped about it. You can get, where did I get that from? There's an abandoned church where I got the schematic for the upgraded handgun. It's not really the handgun, it's like the makeshift handgun, but you can get a schematic that's the upgraded version, and it's up north right above those floating islands. I don't know, it's RNG, so it's all dependent on your luck and everything. So I guess I was just lucky. So I give myself the stamina drinks that I got, and then I feed my pals, and then we end up on our way because that's what we got to do. We got to keep going. We got to make sure that we're good, you know what I mean? So then next up, this is like my magnum opus. I was so proud of this build. This isn't a base yet, but it's gonna be once I unlock it because I shut off deterioration for this purpose. So this area has an abundance of berries. I mean like a major abundance. So I made that wide open farm door, and then I just made an all stone building. I was pretty happy with it. And this is kind of just showing off some more of what I did and the idea behind what I was doing with the island building, because I really didn't show it off when I first previewed it. I just kind of like flew through it. So I was going through, and when I put the podium up, I was like, oh, I'll have these pals do this and these pals do that, but I decided not to because I didn't want to hinder their work experience. So I just let them do their thing. Usually they're pretty good about taking care of what they have to. They don't usually stray unless they have traits that make them stray, like lazy or glutton or things like that. And usually those end up in what? In box 32, because we don't play no games here. So then I build a PAL condenser. Now what a PAL condenser does is you can upgrade the rating of your pals by fusing together pals, like the same pals. So all those lamb balls are now fused and they have one super lamb ball. So I plan on capturing more than one of the same pal and eventually making the whole base, like all of my bases actually, just turning into all rank 4. Now this took some time. This was the first base, believe it or not, that it was getting too crowded and the pals could not get to anything. So what I ended up doing was rebuilding it from the ground up. It took forever, and this is only part of it. This is literally going to be 1 hour condensed in like ×8 speed. I got so tired of like tripping over stairs, of like going, oh, where did I put this? Where did I put that? And so I said, you know what? We're just going to redo it. I'm going to make it nice and wide open so the pals can get to the logging site, they can get to the stone site, the ore site, they can get to the crusher, and everything that they have to get to. I put 2 hot springs up for them instead of just the one, gave them some fluffy beds. We basically redid it. We gave it a re-up, you know, we made it better. And I think they deserve it, you know, the pals definitely deserve it. They work hard. So I wanted to do something to basically, for the what is that called? Whatever, natures of life or whatever that's called. I forget what the saying is. But it really needed upgraded. It was looking really shabby and just poorly put together, and then I almost get wrecked right here by like the incoming pals, and that's because I picked up all the fruit and I literally have 3,000 berries in one basket. So I'm like, please just grappling hook me there, please. So once I'm away, I let the pals take care of it because they're all fairly strong. They're all fairly almost level 30. They're actually, the first base is the strongest pal set I have. And then I decide, you know what, we're not playing any more games with the invading pals or raiders or anything like that. I'm putting up a gate, which is good because it's going to help us defensively. And then what I'm going to do for the top eventually is I have unlocked with the technology points I can put up the mounted crossbow, which I can have pals use. So eventually I'm going to change that second floor, add a set of stairs, make a third floor, and then spread things out even further so that this way, you know, the second and third floor could work, and then throw some crossbows up. Then I wasn't happy with my initial look of how this was going to turn about, so then I change it And I bust down a couple of the walls after adding some posts. This way the whole wall doesn't fall down. I lose all of my progress because I just wanted an opening that could, get me through and get some of the shorter pals through because I have such a wide opening at the other end. So I wasn't really worried about that. I just wanted to kind of extend it. So I changed a few things. I changed a lot in this area anyway. This whole thing is, y'all remember, it was completely different. And then I start out having all the tables here, but that's eventually going to change. Like later on in this video, well, not this video, in this section, because it's going to be the whole 50 minutes condensed, but later on in this section, it's literally going to change like 2 or 3 more times because I'm not ever happy with the first spot I set it, even if it looks great where it's at, but I wasn't really happy with how it was starting to come out here. I'm just like, I don't know, this looks horrible, this looks bad, they can't really pass through, and I'm having a hard time passing through. What was the point of leaving all that open? But first I needed to situate the chest properly so that this way, if I was going to make the walkthrough, it was going to be different. I moved these sections back so that this way the pals could indefinitely get to them because they were having a hard time doing so. I moved all the chests outside by the rocks so that this way they had plenty of space to do what they had to do. And then I think this is where I start, it's where I start changing it because I was not happy with it. I wasn't having it. And I ran into like a few problems here because as soon as I started laying the foundation for it, I'm like, I don't know if that's lining up. And guess what? It wasn't. So it's going to get to a point where I finally go back up and it doesn't line up. I noticed it as soon as I put that wall down. I'm like, oh no, that's not good. And then I saw the gap in the stairs. So then I had to kind of pick my poison. What was I going to do? So in my infinite wisdom, I decide finally to just put some roofing down and leave the gap, inset a little bit. So this way it kind of looks like a drop down, and then just place some pillars for support so that none of the building does fall apart, if it does. And I'm just kind of winging it from here, and I'm like, how's this going to look? So again, I wasn't too thrilled about that, but that's probably the only spot. I am really happy with the build. I am really happy with how it came out. That's probably just the only section where I wasn't happy. So initially I had my bedroom up here with some of the incubators so that this way it'd be out of the way of the pals since they don't really interact with it. I do. And instead of doing that, I'm like, oh, I can put the bed down here. I end up building an outward wall, like a section, like a hallway section, an L bend that leads into a bedroom. So at this point in time, I haven't done it yet because I'm like, oh, everything will fit, it'll be fine. But then once I start putting all the tables down there, I'm like, it is not going to fit, it is not going to be fine. So I finish putting all the tables down eventually after I stop messing with stuff. And if you notice, I put too many of one table. So, yep, right there. I already have that up. So what I didn't put up was the weapons bench, but for now I'm making the floor up. So I start building this little makeshift hallway, and then now that drop ceiling kind of works a little bit because then I could say like, oh, it's a step before the bedroom area. I don't know. So then I put some more posts for structure purposes so that nothing falls apart. Put a little triangle beam wall in there, and make the bed, put up a fireplace. I make it real snazzy, get a little piano going. We got to have that fire music. So now we get the full clean walkthrough. Put my stuff in the chest, and I was really happy with this. It's just that one section that bothers me. So let's walk through. Let's see what it's like. See, that looks so bad, but there we go. That's all fixed. I finally got the weapons bench there. And then you go around. There's a nice big doorway for the pals, for my large pals too, like that elephant one I have. I forget his name. Treefin? No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Then I made a really tall stairway so they could get upstairs too, and I made it double wide so they had enough space left to right, and then I just left this all open. I figured, why not? Just go ahead and I'll deal with it later. So now I'll just let the rest of the tour play out, and with that, y'all, I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all, and 1K gang. Let's go. I'm sorry for my sporadic thoughts, but I'm just kind of like trying to remember as I'm watching it with you. So until next time, hopefully it's the co-op chaos. We will see you then.